Thank you. So, when you were sharing, Brother Clark,
Yes,
never
sir.
be ashamed of your emotions. Your emotions are an expression of God's grace and God's mercy over your life.
Yes.
So, as we sit right here, Lowndes Avenue, if you go down about 4 minutes to your left, it's called St. Elizabeth Hospital. I was born there May 14th, 1966, St. Elizabeth Hospital. If you go down Lowndes Avenue to the locker room and make a left, go on Crane Street to the right, I grew up at 6104 Crane Street. Chain link fence separate me and my best friend, Derek Muhammad. If you go down Lowndes Avenue and get to Waco and make a left, 11-1 Waco, I preached my very first sermon this month 30 years ago. So this is back home for me. So when I come back to this community, it brings me great joy to be able to interact with my Muslim brothers and sisters and to interact with law enforcement, because it lets me know that God's love and God's grace is for everyone. See, against the odds of St. Elizabeth Hospital, it went from a hospital to a rehabilitation center.
HRC.
The changes of life. So I could have been a victim of circumstances. Grew up with my grandparents on Crane Street, could have been a victim of circumstances. Grew up in Fifth Ward, time it's called a bloody nickel, could have been a victim of circumstances, but instead of being circumstantial, I'm covered with God's grace and God's mercy. So when people say, well, why do you do so much? Because I owe God so much. I owe God so much because God's grace and God's mercy has given me a chance to be a light and not a part of darkness. So we're here today, and this is not about us. This is about the light inside of us, shining bright enough. A little Baptist song we grew up with, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm going to let it shine. So as a responsible human being with a light, we have responsibility to keep the light on. So I applaud Steve, I applaud Donnie, I applaud the Harris County Sheriff's Department, I applaud CPOP for being that light in the community that refused to go out. So we're here today to have conversation, dialogue, and fellowship, but we're here to let all our lights interact. Brother, you said if the devil is in one of us, or all of us, or none of us, but one thing for certain, there's some light inside of all of us. And the only thing you got to do is turn the switch on and let your light shine. That's what we're here for, to help you flip your switch on and let your light shine. Let's have some fun.
Brother Williams, you want to say something?